welcome to the East African Community Specs. I am Winnie Serena, your host. Well, as we all know that South Sudan is the 6th member state to the East African Community, where there are 9 members registered to the bloc. But the question today is that how much do we know about the East African Legislative Assembly and its functions? Well, today I am joined by 3 members out of 9 members representing South Sudan to the East African Legislative Assembly. Starting from my left is Honorable Dr. Anne Ito. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And to my second is Honorable Wudu Jeremiah. Welcome to the program. And to my third is Honorable Guy Deng. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ladies, you're so much welcome to this special program. Well, it has been on the table that South Sudan has joined the East African Community, and several times we really need to let our viewers, our fellow South Sudanese, to understand what exactly is happening in the East African Community. Therefore, I'll start with what exactly is the East African Community. Let me start with you, Honorable Dr. Anito.
Okay, thank you very much. East African Community is our community since South Sudan became a member. It's an economic bloc with 6 members. South Sudan is 1, Burundi, Rwanda, and the original members, which is made up of Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. And this East African community has objectives. And the objective is actually balanced to achieve balanced development in the member countries. And it's intended to make the lives of the people better. And it's people-driven, though of course there are some structures in it. There is the parliament, and there is the secretariat which serves to implement the projects. Mm-hmm. And there is the summit, which is made up of heads of state. Yes. And then it's supported by Council of Ministers. And this Council of Ministers are ministers of East African affairs from the member countries. And then you have the undersecretaries from each of the 6 countries that make the technical body that actually help to develop the programs. And the East African community has programs and projects, and there are so many of them. Among them that I would easily want to discuss with them is like the Northern Corridor Infrastructure Project, okay, which actually includes railways, road infrastructure, telecommunication, and many more. Sure. So it is supposed to, the most important thing is supposed to develop, is supposed to bring benefits, and it's a cooperation along infrastructure, cooperation on security and defense and peace and stability in member countries, economic cooperation. There are so many more that actually South Sudan stands to benefit from.
Well, you talked of undersecretaries representing, is it the 6 member states? Do we have one representing South Sudan there? And who could that be?
Definitely. Momo is our representative to the undersecretaries, group, okay, in the East African community. And he's a very pleasant and knowledgeable person.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Then let me jump to Honorable Dr. Wudu. Well, would you just tell us what exactly are your roles in the East African community?
Thank you very much for hosting us. As EALA, we are the legislative organ of the community. We enact rules, and also we pass motions, and we do a lot of things to the benefit of the East African. And EALA, as I said, is the legislative organ for the community, and it's established under the Article 9 of that of the Treaty of Establishment of the East African Community. And till now, EALA has passed more than 70 rules, okay, and laws. And recently, as the 4th EALA, we have passed 2 laws, which is the Oath Bill and also the Monetary Union Bill. And that is a very important bill which will lead us to the one currency, to the East Africa.
How have these bills that you have passed impacted Lagos, South Sudan, if I may ask?
Yeah, of course, this bill, as let me go a little back to the pillars of the integration, because we have the custom union, the first pillar, and we have the common market, and the third one is the monetary union.
Well, I'll just jump to to Honorable Guy. Relating to what you just said, you're leading a committee. Is it that is related to statistics or something like that?
Yeah,
I'll
communication
elaborate,
trade. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Probably you can just give us some little highlight on that.
Maybe I'll just try to put it in context. As mentioned, that we have a lot of functions as the EALA. Now, which is East African Legislative Assembly, the work of the Legislative Assembly is driven by work generated from the committees. There are 6 committees within EALA, mainly Agriculture Committee, which both Honorable Woda and Honorable Anne are members of.
Sure.
There is also the Committee on Cooperation and Regional Conflict, which we have also 2 members in that committee. We also have the Committee on General Purpose. We also have Accounts Committee, and we also have the Committee on Legal and Privileges, of which I and Honorable Anne are members. And the last committee is the Committee on Communication, Trade, Investment, which I chair. Now, the structure within EALA is that these committees are rotated, are chaired in rotation by all the member states. So this time we have got the Communication, Trade and Investment for 2.5 years, and then after that it's taken over by another country. So that's in terms of the structure. What she mentioned, Honorable Woda mentioned that there are different pillars and different structures that the EAC is looking at. The statistic bill is a bill that is going to look at establishing what we call the Statistics Bureau. And that is one step towards getting the monetary union. The monetary bill has been passed, and what that means is that there's going to be a monetary institute that is going to look at all the fiscal policies of the member states, all the different economic variables, so that we are on the same plate when we get to the point where we're going to have a single currency. So that bill will be tabled in our next plenary. Hopefully it will be passed. The monetary bill has already been passed. So this is a step towards ultimate political federation. But there is a process that the EAC is looking at.
When are we expecting to have the one currency?
Well, I mean, it is. We have got the date of 2022 as a date that's put there. But of course, there's a lot of things that have to be done in between. So we can't put it down and say that it's definitely going to happen. But that's something to aim for, because obviously there are a lot of issues, especially fiscal policies, that has to be harmonized before we have a single currency.
Great. Well, I'll get back to Honorable Dr. Anitu. We have been receiving negative comments on the fact that some people, people are looking at you people being SPLM members or majorly government officials that are elected that are representing South Sudan on the to the East African Legislative Assembly. Would you kindly share with us, with the public, how you came to be the representatives of South Sudan to the East African Legislative Assembly?
Okay, thank you very much. You cannot be the police and your judge at the same time. So that we get an honest and clear answer so that people can trust, I would refer that question to Honorable Dr. Woda, because she's an independent candidate.
Oh.
Yeah, please. If you would allow that.
Sure.
Yeah, she should be the one to...
Yeah, thank you very much. I really want to say that our being here in East Africa Legislative Assembly came through very credible, transparent, and I think everyone has seen how that election has been done. But I will take you a little bit into the process, how it started. You know, I think everyone here knows that that announcement has been gazetted for 2 weeks, and each and everyone was allowed that if you are a South Sudanese, a national South Sudanese, and you see in yourself that you are qualified to be a member of East Africa Legislative Assembly, you can come and apply. The application forms were there with the clerk. The doors were open. People came. There was a procedure because there were some laws how you go there. You have to get some more than 24 recommendation from members from the national from the Transitional National Assembly of South Sudan. Okay. We did the same, and the assembly was very keen to go onto the right steps, because the election is there in Article 50 in the treaty. And they went through those steps. There were a verification committee, which was established by the Transitional National Legislative Assembly, who went into that one. And the numbers which were screened were 29th out of many. Because this 29th, they have seen that they have all the eligibility and all the documents. We went through the verification committee, each and every one of us. I think it took us like 3 days. And after that, the election day was open, and we were given time to campaign in our constituency, which is the Transitional National Legislative Assembly. These are our voters.
Okay.
And I think we have been voted by the people of South Sudan, because those voters have been voted from the South Sudanese to represent them in the parliament. So we went into that day. I think we stayed from morning till 9 o'clock. It was live, all the East African and everywhere.
Sure.
People were witnessing it, and it reminded me, for surprisingly, me and Guy, we worked during the referendum. So that time remind me of the referendum, which we really did, credible, and it was transparent. And then after that, because we were 3 ladies, some people were saying because we came and opposed. It happened that we are 3 ladies representing the 3 greatest. So because it was a must that when you elect, you should elect 3 ladies.
Okay.
As a member of parliament, you should put 3 ladies, otherwise your vote will be invalid.
No.
Yeah.
No. Can I take over from there?
Sure.
You see, every political party had a chance to contest.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it is the vote that counted. After the 3 women passed and opposed, the 29 or the 26 men are subjected to vote. And the top 6 were the ones who had a chance to go to EALA. So some of the political parties contested, and they were not among the top 6. So it's not like unfair. It was subjected to vote, and they didn't get voted to. And I want to actually bring this point across. We know that we have been elected by people who represent the whole of South Sudan. And that is what we have in our hearts. Now, as soon as we got to EALA, we sat down and we made that commitment to be united and only show the face of South Sudan when we're there. And our interest is to make sure that South Sudan is well represented, but our presence there brings benefit to the people of South Sudan. And as a result, there are positions there. We distributed it just by sitting down. And there was members of commission. Only 2 people out of 9 can be in the commission. We had only 1 chair, 1 committee that we can chair. Only one of us can chair, so we gave that to and we have a chapter chair, and that went to Thomas. I myself and Gabriel Ahor are members of commission. The rest are active members of different committees, and they're South Sudanese fighting like me, like her, to make sure that our presence is felt. And to us, that is the most important thing, and that we want to really communicate to South Sudanese. Once we're there, we left our political parties here in Juba. Once we got there, we are just South Sudanese, and we want to make a difference. I think that is very important.
Also, as she said, we really, even there, I think James Arusha was with us, and he knows that the South Sudanese chapter is really well represented. I just want to assure the South Sudanese that they're well represented. We're doing whatever it takes us so that we meet the integration and we do something. And this is part of our obligation. That's why we came back to report to our voters what we are doing, what is being requested from them. And on this juncture, I really want to thank our voters, especially the Women Caucus, who really stood very hard that they should select very strong women who will go and represent them and do something. We are one team. We are not being there as SPLM, IO, independent. We are just South Sudanese are representing South Sudan to the best of what we can.
And just to add to what my colleagues have just mentioned, coming here, we are coming as one unit. But the reason there's only 3 of us, maybe we can explain. Some, as I said before, committee have work, and work is not necessarily during the plenary, but sometimes there are other committees that meet for various functions that they need to do. That's why our other colleagues are not with us, because they are actually attending committee meetings while we're here. So it just so happened the 3 of us are the ones who are able to be here.
And all women.
And all women. But also, adding to that, of course, the minimum, as you said, is 1/3 of all the members should be women. That doesn't mean there are no other qualified women. It just so happened that maybe the other political parties didn't put women forward. I personally would have preferred more women, but that's just a personal opinion. But it doesn't mean that we are representing different parties. We are representing South Sudan, and that's why we came here as a one unit. And I think that's really important to emphasize. When we are there, people look at us as the chapter from South Sudan. They don't look at us as as PLEM, IO, or UPDF, or whatever. So I think it's important to emphasize, we are one unit, because at the end of the day, we were elected by the Transitional Legislative Assembly, which is made up of all political parties. These same political parties are the ones who actually also voted in candidates who are not necessarily from their party. Because, to come, you have to have the majority. And the majority is made up of different political parties. So I think it's important to emphasize that.
And just for the record, because we are saying that it's at least that, we are doing minimum should be that. So it doesn't mean that every time we should only be 3 ladies. Next time we can even have more, but at least 6 should be 3. Could be 6. Could be
other
at
countries.
least
Other countries are much ahead of us. For example,
Tanzania
they have
5
women. Rwanda has 4 women. So I think it's important to say that that's the minimum.
The minimum.
It doesn't mean we can't have more women, and I think the more women that we have on the panel would further quite a lot of things.
Great. And to whom do you report to, like when you come back to South Sudan?
Well, I think they already mentioned that our constituency, or the voters, are the Transitional Legislative Assembly. These are the people who voted us, and through them, the people of South Sudan. So really, we are accountable to the National Assembly and to the people of South Sudan. That's the reason while we're here, we had meeting with different committees at the Assembly to report back on what we've been doing, what is happening, if there are issues that we need to bring to them, because as legislators, we are not the ones to implement. We're not the one to bring issues. What we are there for is an oversight. So if there are issues and what we have done, the things that are being looked at the Assembly, we come back to our constituents, report back, and give advice in terms of, what can they do to further some of the things that can benefit South Sudan.
Now, I also want to bring something. This question that has been asked is kind of tricky. When you think of whom do you report to, it's like a boss, right? Our relationship is not that way. When we are in EALA, we have to abide by the treaty and the provisions of it. We serve our country by respecting the treaty. So, and once we are there, we actually become East Africans. We are not expected to be talking about our individual countries all the time. When we are there, we debate in the best interest of all East Africans. What we try to do once in a while is, because we are new, we try to inform and educate other members of the parliament about the situation in South Sudan, because they haven't had opportunity to know more about it, so that we debate effectively based on knowledge. The other thing that is important is also that though our constituency is the parliament, we also, as Parliament of East Africa, we can collect what do you call it, grievances, or complaints?
Complaints. People can make petitions.
Petitions. Anything related to, if anybody is not happy about something that is related to cooperation or East Africa, or trade that is related to East Africa, they can raise it to us, or any border, anything, any issue that is East African related, they can raise it as a petition to us, and we can table it. We can bring it to the attention of the parliament there. So it's very, very important. People should not think they have to wait for issues to go through the national parliament to us, to East Africa. Anything to do with the trade or what, and that has something to do with East Africa, they can petition any of, East Africa through. And even they can open court cases, in the East African Court of Justice.
Yes.
So it's very, for example, if somebody does something here and they happen to be members of East Africa, not from South Sudan, you can actually open a court case in Arusha. So that is very, very important to know. But in terms of information, any bills, any motion that has been passed is supposed to be communicated by our clerk, the clerk of EALA, to South Sudan, but through the clerk of the National Transitional Assembly. Anything that's happening there is supposed to be communicated. So we communicate through our through the committees of the National Assembly, but we also have another system of communication between clerks and clerks, so that all is well. But also anything that we passed, whatever is coming through the clerk, the speaker actually submits it to the Council of Ministers. Especially those that requires action. It is taken them back to the Council of Ministers for action. So that is how we relate.
And I think just to add the structure, just to clarify to the viewers, the Council of Ministers is made up of the ministers responsible for East African affairs in each member state. So for us in South Sudan, is the Minister
for trade and East African
affairs. So things happen through that structure. And I just wanted to give an example of what Honorable Anne said about petitions, and to give our viewers an idea of how actually the citizens are the one who drive this process. There is a petition that was brought by the motorcycle industry, people who are in the motorcycle racing as a sport. And the petition was that they're being taxed much higher when they bring spare parts from outside.
Where was that petition from? South Sudan?
No. From Kenya. From Kenya. So the petition was brought to EALA that, we are being taxed more than the spare parts that are being used for the same thing. But of course, theirs is considered as a luxury. It's not a necessity. But of course, having a car is a necessity. So that petition was brought. It was discussed by the previous EALA 3. It was taken through to the Council of Ministers, and we're just waiting for a response back. So this is an example. These are just a group of people that got together and felt, it's not fair that we have to pay more taxes, than other people who are using exactly the same vehicles. So this is an example for the viewers that anything that you can think of, it really is a people-driven process.
Great. Well, before we go for a break,
I just wanted to add something also, because for us, we're playing two roles. We are East African, but we are South Sudanese. So we are accountable also for the 170 million East African. That's why you can see, even if you go to our website, our names, our emails, our phones are there, because an East African can just call, Honorable, you said this, and you're not doing this. It's the same also to the institution and everything, which is in the different partner states. We are an oversight body also. We can go as legislators that this rule have been enacted. You in this country or partner state, you are not doing it. So the accountability is really very large. And it's a two-part way, and it's a obligation and rights also. So my appeal to the South Sudanese that they should know their rights through the treaty, because we are already in this block, we are already connected, and we should be fast-tracked into the integration. And it takes us also some bigger steps. As we have just joined, we will not just sit at the back seats. We should take bigger steps so that at least we'll be there in that integration.
Great, thank you. Well, let's hold it there and we'll pick it from that point.
Okay.
Well, my dear viewers, let's take a very short break looking at the comments that were recorded from Tanzania, Dodoma.
That country was born out of blood, and that struggle I identified with it, because indeed it was a struggle against Arab chauvinism. It was a struggle against hegemonic system that placed our black people, that made our people to be slaves in their own country. It pains me and it pains this assembly, and therefore it pains the region, that there has been a loud sounding silence of the East African community when the people of that country continue to suffer. It is the spirit of feeling the pain of our people that has motivated me to bring this motion to this assembly. $1.5 million of these people are living within the region as refugees. Their situation continues to deteriorate every single day. They continue to make loud noises that are not being heard. It is the responsibility of the assembly, of this assembly, to amplify the voices of these people. We are here because we have been blessed by these people to speak on their behalf. How much blood do we want to be let before we can say we have heard your voices? How many people must leave that country for us to realize that it's time for us to act? This is the situation that we are confronted in Southern Sudan. The IGAD process has already taken traction. However, it is taking quite long, and it is very painful, especially for those that are suffering the brunt of this war. For the children, for the women, for the old people.
Let's show the whole world we don't bring up peace in our land. Peace now, makes another death later.
Welcome back from that break. If you've just joined us, you're watching the East African Community, and still we are looking at the functions of the East African Legislative Assembly and more. Still in the program, I am joined by Honorable Dr. Anito, and to the second is still Honorable Dr. Wodu, and to the farthest is still Honorable Guy. Well, ladies, well, just as we have seen the short clip whereby a representative of a partner member in the East African Legislative Assembly just brought about some issues on South Sudan. Well, as South Sudan representatives to the East African Legislative Assembly, what do you have to say on that point of where this gentleman raised that point? Let me one more time start with you.
Okay, thank you very much, viewers. As I said, South Sudan became a member of East African Community, and they did so by signing a treaty. And this treaty actually, Article 5, 3F, provides for promotion of peace, security, and stability among the member states. This makes it a mandate and responsibility of members of East African Legislative Assembly to respond to conflict in any part of East Africa, from Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, and South Sudan. This is actually the background to it. And what to me was really very moving was the way that the issue was brought by our member, an East African from Uganda, but the details that he provided, the emotions that went around the whole, the whole hall, the parliament was like unanimous. And I was so proud to be part of that legislative assembly. And it's, of course, some people may say, okay, IGAD is already handling that issue. Why is East African interfering? It's not interfering because security and stability of member countries is part of what we signed for. So we are only doing what we are supposed to be doing. So that is very important for people to understand. But also, what EALA requested was for East Africa to be an observer member in the ongoing peace. But I'm quite sure, given the fact that you cannot have integration and development without with an ongoing conflict, EALA and East Africa will be more involved in making sure that factors contributing to the conflict in South Sudan will have to be addressed.
Well, Honorable Dr. Uda, probably you can pick from the point of whether you people have been accepted to be the observers.
Yes, I really thank our assembly for that important motion which they raised in the Doma, and I'm very proud that that motion came, when we were in the land of the forefathers of this integration. It's a very important one, and we thank our colleagues for that stand. As you were asking that, where is that motion now?
Yes.
The motion has been passed unanimously, as Doctor said, by our members in the assembly, and now the motion is being submitted to the Council of Ministers, because as we said, we are organs which also operate together, and we integrate together and operate together with the other organs. We have the Council of Ministers, whereby our Minister of Trade and Investment is a member, and the Council now will be working to submit it to the summit.
Sure. Yes. Well, I'll get to you, Honorable Gayu. Let me get back a little bit to the point of whereby you were talking of motions and all that topic, and understand. The motions, a number of motions were passed. For example, promotion of the Swahili language. We have the East African Community Oath Bill, and as well as interesting motion on the East African Assembly involvement in IGAD-led peace process. Well, just give us a brief, or just tell us something brief. What made that these motions really come up? What really triggered these three motions?
Motions and initiation of bills to the Assembly can come from the members themselves. That could be a private bill.
Okay.
It can be generated from the Council of Ministers. So the bill that deals with the Monetary Institute, which has been passed,
Yes.
that was actually a bill that was initiated by the Council of Ministers as the step further towards the monetary union. The bill on statistics, which will be tabled, is also a bill that was generated by the Council of Ministers. So these are the different sources through which bills can be initiated. It can be an individual bill from any member in the Assembly, or it can be from the Council of Ministers. So because these two bills are really important in terms of fast-tracking, establishing a monetary union, that's what we are actually working towards. So once these bills are passed, then they go to the summit for assent. Once it's ascended, it comes to all of the member states' legislative assembly. So the assembly will look at this bill, they will look at it and debate it. If they see that it has merit and it has benefit to the region, then it is passed into law by the member states, because this is a consensus community. No bill can be passed and made law if all the members do not agree. So that's why it has to go through this process.
Yeah,
Can I do this?
Yes.
I want to. I was raising.
Okay.
The Swahili issue was not a motion. We discussed was that time we were presenting the report of our visit, which actually was undertaken in February. Sure. And there were some things which were not going well, and that particular commission was not performing well. I think that it was underfunded and understaffed, and therefore it meant it will not be able to achieve what it was set out to do. But as we discussed that, because already Swahili is the lingua franca for East Africa, it was felt that it should be known more broadly. And an issue was raised, okay, Swahili was born in Tanzania, it was raised, it grew up in Kenya and died in Uganda and never arrived South Sudan.
Buried in Congo.
Buried in Congo and never arrived South Sudan. We requested this learning and so on to be fast-tracked, so that we should also know. Swahili, being a lingua franca, is very important for integration. Sure. When you go doing business, it's not going to be in Arabic or English. It's likely to be in Swahili, so it's as well we learn that as a language. And when it comes to trade, when it comes to visit Uganda, maybe Tanzania and Kenya, most of us don't know. Sure. And if we want to do business today, you get stuck. If you go to Dar es Salaam, you'll need a translator, and you're in East Africa. So we felt that this is something that South Sudan must take seriously.
Sudan, and that one need to be fast-tracked, I think, through the cooperation with our ESC ministry here. Because this is what we said during the debate, that we in South Sudan, we're a little bit lacking behind in the Kiswahili, so we really need to be fast-tracked. And we thank the Secretariat and also all the members and EALA. They know that we are lacking behind in many aspects, but they are fast-tracked us into that integration. The other thing is also, I think the Ministry of Education will be working together with the Ministry of the ESC to include Kiswahili as part of the curriculum. Because really, as we went through the Central Corridor, it's very difficult. If you don't know Kiswahili, you will end up even not eating anything. For us, we have learned.
Or eating the wrong thing.
Or eating the wrong thing. So
maybe crocodile meat.
Not the same way we learn Arabic, and it's an added value. We can learn Kiswahili, and most of it is Arabic. Yes. So you having this local Arabic,
you can pick up, yes.
You can pick up.
Well, you talked of we are lagging behind, and I'm looking at the motions, the recommendations that the people have been raising outside there. What roles are you playing as the legislatures representing South Sudan to make sure that all these things go well? Let me jump to you.
Okay, so we pick up the issue of the Kiswahili Commission. Now, all projects within the East African community are funded through contributions by the member states. So each member state contributes. That money is what is used to fund all of these projects. Now the Kiswahili Council will be, if it is established, and well, not if, when it is established, because that's something that is going to happen. When it is established in South Sudan, it is basically being funded from the money that all of the member states contribute to. So that's actually a direct benefit to people in South Sudan. It is the money that you are actually putting in that is funding these projects. So like the Kiswahili Council, once it is established, it will be funded from the same money. It will provide opportunities to fast track the process. It will work together with the Ministry of Education, as you said, to look at the syllabus, to look at how we are going to be able to disseminate and implement. Our role is an oversight. So if this is the council is set up, it is our responsibility to follow up to see how this project is being implemented, so that we are able to report back to the assembly, and if there are challenges and issues, then we raise motions on how to actually address whatever challenges are there. So that's just one example, and that applies to all the different projects. The tour that my colleague referred to for the Northern Corridor and the Central Corridor was actually an oversight function. There are a lot of projects, and as you said, this is not the forum to discuss all of them, but there are a lot of projects that have been initiated, implemented, but we as oversights, we need to know how they're being implemented. Are they benefiting people of East Africa? Are there challenges? What are these challenges? Also, at the moment, the Committee on Accounts is looking at all of the auditing reports. That's also our responsibility. We look at the money that has been put for a certain project. Did that money, was it used for the purpose it was intended? If it wasn't, what are the challenges? What are the ramifications? Then this information is taken back to the Assembly. Recommendations are put in place as to what should be done. That information, and I think it's grateful, the way the EALA functions is that the Council of Ministers, they attend our plenary. So they're always there. Of course, I mean, there are financial challenges, as we all know. So each member state has a certain amount that they have to contribute every year. We have been able to contribute some, and it's not just South Sudan. Other states as well, have contributed. I think it's only Tanzania that have paid all of their dues. So South Sudan, it's still working towards making sure that that's, and it's really important because it's this money that actually gets the project going. And maybe this is something will be good for our viewers and our citizens of South Sudan to know that really it is our process. We own it as people of the region. You're putting money in order for these projects to be implemented, and they have a right to know how are these projects benefiting them, because you're the one who actually, taxpayers' money is actually funding this project. So I think that's a good point to bring it home or to put it in context, how that is done.
Can I just add if there is time?
We are really running out of time.
Okay, so anyway, what I wanted to say is this integration is a people-driven integration. Maybe next time we come around, we'll talk about how traders can link in and
together.
how they can benefit, how farmers' organization can link in, and how youth and women can link in, and how all the different components of the society have a role to play. And if they begin working, their activities are partially funded by money that comes from East Africa. So that's what I wanted to
add.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. 5 seconds, one message, just for our viewers over there.
Knowledge is power. That's what I would say. As we said, that this is something that is owned by the people of the region. And I think the onus is on us as legislators to give as much information as we can. But at the same time, we also as citizens, I think, have to be part of that process. Those who are able to get access to, let's say, based technology, you can go on the website of EAC. There's a lot of information. But also we are hoping as a chapter to have the opportunity to have more forums with the citizens so that people can get informed about what the process is and what your contribution is. This is yours. So let's take that initiative to inform ourselves, get the knowledge. We are available. As was said before, we are accessible. Our information is there, but we are hoping to do more forums with the people of Sudan. So get the knowledge so that we can be part of that process.
Thank you. Very briefly.
Yeah, as my colleague said, I just want to tell the South Sudanese that this integration is theirs. We are already in that block, and then we should own it and we should know what is it. If you have the information, you have the power. And also this integration is people-centered. It's not about leaders, it's about people. That's why we want these people to really get benefit from this integration. And I promise that there are too much benefits. We really will benefit, and this is our right place to be in, the East Africa. Yeah. And we have a logo which said that one nation, one destiny. So we have already locked ourselves in that destiny.
Great. Thank you so much. And finally?
Well, I don't have much to say, but I want to thank our government for taking that bold decision in 2016 to join the East African community. That is because the trend today in the world is being a member of a bloc. Because being a member of a bloc provides you with the opportunity to pool your resources and to work together to cooperate on important issues like economy, like defense, like culture. It's very, very important. But also the market is huge. The market we have in East Africa is about between 150 million to 170 million. Just imagine if we had chosen to produce lots of simsim, yeah, which we are very good at.
Yes.
And we can choose another thing, gum Arabic. Gum Sudan, gum South Sudan, that we are very good at.
Yeah.
And we have this big
markets.
We have this huge market. You know, I mean, instead of looking outside, looking to Europe, China, our membership in this bloc allow us to exploit and utilize this existing market,
resources.
But it gives us opportunity to grow through cooperation and achieve a balanced development. It's all up to us. If we challenge ourselves, we'll get there. But I'm telling people, don't always intimidate yourself by saying we are too young, we are too poor, we are too this. That, you know, if you go outside, you'll find that South Sudan is not unique. A lot of the other members in the bloc are just almost where we are. Our difference is the war. If we can stop this conflict, we will pick up with others and we'll be at the same level. So don't intimidate yourself. We are right where we should be. We just need to work hard
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Members,
you.
for joining me in this platform. I do hope to have you in another session of this program.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Well, my dear viewers, this has finally brought us to the end of the program. On behalf of the team behind the scenes, I am Winnie Serino, and this is the East African Community.